All right, everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live today. Anthony, what a sad day for all of us, as we've just learned this morning that Marriott President and CEO Arne Sorenson passed away unexpectedly from pancreatic cancer, something he had since May of 2019. I know I didn't really get to know him too well. I got to interview him a couple of times on stage, and I'm very affected by this. I can only imagine how difficult it is for all of those that loved him and worked with him.
Yeah, I never had the opportunity to meet the man. And I am also feeling it because he was more than a hotelier. He was a business person. And when you saw, and more than that, he was a human being that you felt his empathy, right after COVID and everything happened. Like he was just so empathetic, but also very focused on making sure that the business kept on running so he can bring all the employees back. And I just watched an interview this morning with him from March of 2020, and he was just such a strong, steady force. And I've seen him on a lot of business shows. And again, he was a hotelier, but he was a businessman, and he gave our industry tremendous credibility. And to be the only person to run Marriott without the Marriott name, that's pretty special. He was a special man.
That's right. Only the third president and CEO in that company's history. And as you just said, the first one without the name Marriott associated with it. Incredible professional, named CEO of the Year in 2019 by Chief Executive Magazine, and won the CEO for All Leadership Award for 2020 by Great Places to Work. And I think what he managed to do with Marriott, which was one of the world's largest hospitality companies to begin with, is absolutely incredible, particularly closing that Starwood Hotels and Resorts deal for a $13 billion acquisition in 2016, which really changed the entire company.
Yeah, and everybody thought it was a really big undertaking, and a lot of people said it wouldn't work, and obviously it worked. And so this morning I was texting my friend Mike Stengel, who's been on the show before, and he graciously accepted an offer to come on and speak about Arne, because I know he was close to him and he worked for him for many, many years. So
that's right. And we're going to bring on Mike right away. I would love for all of you folks in the chat room to share your reflections, your stories, what you're thinking about right this time as the entire hospitality industry comes to mourn a great leader. I also want to thank all of our advertisers for understanding that we are not going to be focusing on that sort of thing today. So let's bring in Mr. Mike Stengel. Mike, great to see you again, but so sad that we have to be seeing each other again under these circumstances.
Hey, Glenn, hey, Anthony, how you guys doing this morning? Yeah, it was a sad day for Marriott and for the hospitality industry. Arne joined, I think it's been about 25 years ago when he joined the company. And, he did have one bad side. He was a lawyer. Actually, he did the acquisition on the other side, working for Marriott at a law firm in Washington to help us acquire the Renaissance brand. Oh. And Bill Marriott fell in love with the guy at the time, and he wound up working for us for the last 25 years. And Mr. Marriott mentored him, and he excelled at the great things that he did in leadership and mentoring and inclusion and negotiating and deal making. I mean, he really gained the trust of Bill Marriott over these years. And, you look at what he's done since he's been the president and CEO. We, not only did we do the acquisition of Starwood, but, the acquisition of Gaylord was another one that was something that we weren't even in the running for that acquisition up until a couple of weeks before. And Arne stepped in and took that deal. And I know there was other hotel companies weren't too happy, but he's done some very special things for us as a company. I did get a couple texts this morning from some of the owners, especially the Gaylord owners, that said that he'll be big shoes to fill and a great friend to the industry. And he just had this way about articulating our position and making sure that we were represented in a very good way. And there was no one that has this much integrity and in the industry and a voice in the industry, not only during the Trump administration, but the Bush administration and the Obama administration. He was very active in the world of hospitality and trying to make sure that our industry was taken care of. And he, I think that, he thought he had beat this thing. There was no one in better shape than Arne. Ran every day, physically fit, ate right, traveled the world, and probably it's what had him stay alive for several years was because of the condition he was in. But I think this was a shock to everybody, and he'll be missed in the industry for sure.
Certainly was. And even if you expected something like this coming, it would still be a shock when somebody who's so alive and so vibrant leaves us and our community and stuff. So, Mike, I always was amazed by what a great leader he was. And again, I said at the top of the show, I didn't really know him well. He's one of those folks that I would have liked to have gotten better. But any interaction I had with him, he made it seem as if we were old friends. He made it seem like everything that I said mattered. What was it like working with him when he was your leader?
Yeah, I mean, he did a video for me in my going away Skype thing. And, he truly knows how to use words in the right way. He made me feel so good and so appreciated, and loved me telling stories. He hated my football team. That's why I wear my Eagles shirt today. He always teased me about being a bad Eagles fan. But working for him, he really allowed you to make decisions. He made you feel like he really trusted you. When he put me in charge of the acquisition of the Gaylord brand, working with Dave Grissom and David Marriott, I was, really honored that he would trust me with such a large decision that we had made as a company and an investment. And he stuck with us through thick and thin. I mean, we had a really tough start, and Arne was behind us the entire way. And he showed tremendous interest in what you had to say. I never seen anyone have better listening skills than him. When you started to talk, he shut up, unlike me, and he would listen to every word you said and clarify if he didn't understand. I mean, I was so impressed by his listening skills, better than anyone I've ever worked with. And I enjoyed spending, I got to go to the quarterly business review meetings with Arne and Mr. Marriott, and the affection between the two of them was infectious around the company. You almost thought he was one of Mr. Marriott's sons. For Bill to turn it over to a non-family member was, we were all very impressed and thought that he was well deserving.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If you could share, which one of the moments that you had a personal moment with him that will stand out for the rest of your life?
The thing that impressed me most is, we did a meeting every year in Marriott called MINA. It was, I don't know what MINA stands for, and neither does anyone else, I don't think, anymore. We do a lot of acronyms, but it was a meeting with our full service, best of the biggest full service owners in Marriott. And Arne always never missed that meeting. And we brought our wives and spouses, and we interacted with those owners for 3 or 4 days. And what impressed me was, that always stood out to me is that Arne and his wife were really so unpretentious, such down-to-earth people, and they would seek you out, want to speak to your wife, know your wife's name, know your kids' names, know everything about you. And I always was shocked by that, because I never worked directly for Arne in the AVP role or the SVP roles, but I really worked for David Marriott and Dave Grissom. But Arne knew everything about what you were doing and how important the role was you played in the company. And he would tell your spouse. I remember at Camelback, he told my wife, this guy has done an unbelievable job at taking this brand Gaylord and incorporate it into our company, and we couldn't do it without him. And he thanked my wife for giving us the time, giving me my time to do that. So I think that's what I remember.
And that, no matter how well you do in your career, no matter how big you get, no matter how much money you make, no matter how many accolades you get, but when somebody takes the time and says thank you in a sincere way, that is worth more than any award, any money, any title. And for a guy of your stature to remember that in such a poignant way really speaks to him as a man. And like I said, in all of interviews I've watched of him, I always said one day this man should run for president because of the way he just really listened, like you said, and really had an affinity for people. You just see, I've never met the man, and you just see it. And like I said, he did a lot for our industry. When he won CEO of the Year, he didn't win it for the hotelier industry. He won it for business.
Yeah. You know, I can tell you a funny story about Arne. My favorite funny story was, we were out at, I think we were at Mina, and it was in San Francisco. And Arne was very philanthropic and always made sure that we addressed the needs of the society that we were in, so the community that we were in. So we were in San Francisco, and they have a big homeless problem there. And we were partnered with an organization called Back on Your Feet. And Arne invited everyone at the meeting to do a walk with him in the morning. We were going to go down to City Hall and meet a group of homeless folks that were in this organization, Back on Your Feet. And we were going to walk the city of San Francisco with them at like 6 a.m. And then some people would jog, right? Him, not me. And so what was funny was I had no intention on showing up. It was a late night the night before. So I get up, I put my workout clothes. I was going to go down to the gym, but my wife says, hey, can you go to this coffee store in the lobby and bring up a couple coffees? So I go down to get the coffee, and Arne's standing in the lobby with about 5 or 6 other people. And he goes, oh, Mike, thanks for coming. I really appreciate you coming. And I didn't get the coffee yet, but I said, oh, yeah, no problem, Arne. And so about 5 minutes later, as the people gathered, there was only about 15 of us. We proceeded to go outside. It was 6 a.m. We walked to City Hall from the hotel we were in, which probably was about 2 miles. And this is before the walk started. We walked 2 miles. And we get to City Hall. And what was heartwarming to me was Arne shook hands with 25 or 30 of these homeless folks. They had no idea who he was, but he went around, introduced himself, shook hands with every one of them. And we all took off on this walk around the city of San Francisco. And about halfway through it, I had to be at a meeting like 8 o'clock. My wife's I don't have a phone with me. My wife's trying to figure out what the hell happened to me. And as Arne started to jog and some of the people got ahead of me, I kind of dropped behind. Actually, I did have my phone now, I remember, because I called an Uber, picked me up on the other side of San Francisco. I had a bad knee too. Picked me up on the other side of San Francisco, brought me back to the hotel, get back, go up to my room. My wife says, where's the coffee? What happened to you? I said, oh, you won't believe what happened. Arne got me in the lobby, and I couldn't say no. And it was such a funny situation. I was gone for like 2 hours and never got her.
Well, and that says everything about him. And again, he didn't have to do it. Right. No. Here's our mutual friend, Manny. Why don't you read that, Glenn? I don't know.
We'll having Mike on your show today to truly verbalize what all of us inside and outside the industry are thinking. Arne Sorenson exemplified everything a leader should be: empathetic, charismatic, inclusive, while also being forward-thinking, which is even more highlighted during the recent events of COVID, the political environment, and the effects of our industry.
She's definitely smarter than me. She's used great words. And Arne was probably the smartest guy I ever met, but he never used that against you. He really was a brilliant man. And
what do you think he enjoyed most about his role?
I think he really, really, really loved the travel. I mean, and he wore it as a badge of honor. He'd say to you, "Oh yeah, I was in Dubai yesterday, in China the day before, in India the next day." I mean, he just thought that was so cool. And he traveled the world. He wanted to see our hotels. He wanted to meet the employees around the world. He wanted to shake hands with the leaders and thank them for doing a great job. He just didn't. I think coming out of being an attorney, which probably is exciting for attorneys, but not for a hospitality person. He got to travel the world and see our company's growth up firsthand. I think that was the thing that I think he loved the most, and he loved the people. He really, really valued people's opinion. I don't think there was anyone in our company that ever valued your opinion like him. When you talked, he listened. It was really
great comment here from Dan Flannery that says Marriott has 30 brands, but when you spoke to him, you always got the sense that your brand
was the only one, right?
Yeah, that's terrific. And I will add, it's not just people in the Marriott family that loved and really respected him. The other CEOs in our business, which were competing against him furiously, all loved and respected him. For example, Chris Nassetta this morning mentioned how he was deeply saddened by the heartbreaking news of Arne Sorenson's passing. He was an incredibly respected man, a leader in hospitality, and a devoted husband, father, and friend. It's been a true honor to work alongside him on behalf of our great industry for so many years, and I will miss him and the friendship we've built. That really says it all. And
Chris is a former Marriott employee too, you know.
Yeah, right. And Jeff Bellotti, he's the president and CEO of Wyndham, also put up a beautiful tribute as well, including God bless one of the greatest leaders we've ever been gifted to have lead our industry over the years in so many different levels. Absolutely beautiful and generous comments I'm seeing all over online this morning.
And when you look at his life work and you look at what he's accomplished and how difficult his job was, the great leaders make it look easy. He took Starwood and integrated with his team, with you guys, and integrated. And everyone said that was one of the hardest things in hospitality that's ever been done. And he did it with such grace. When you saw him come out after COVID and heart-wrenching, he was ill. He lost all his hair. He was very, very thin, but he stood there rock solid and spoke to everyone, not only Marriott, but our industry. And I remember feeling just so comforted by his words. And he was always so calm. I mean, you went from, doing the best ever to 91% drop off in a week. Yeah. And he just always with fighting his battles, with fighting everything he was fighting, he just was really just steel. And it was I'll never forget as long as I live watching that video. I watched it probably 30 times. I was just like, I'm sitting here going, I got to learn from this. What am I missing? I've got to learn. What am I learning? And I went through it so many times. And what I learned was he was steel because he really believed in himself and he believed in his team.
Yeah. And he, one thing he said to me before I left, he said, you're not going to be a stranger. I'm going to call you when I need your advice. I thought I was so taken back by that, but I think that he, I watched his interactions with Bill Marriott, and I know Bill Marriott tells a story about when Arne brought the Starwood acquisition to him. I think at first he thought, we're crazy trying to do this. But Arne, he had such trust in him that he really believed that if Arne wanted to do it, we'd make it happen as an organization. And he was so convincing of a human being that that's how we get such longevity. I mean, you get Bill Marriott, who is such a special person that could find a guy like Arne to emulate the culture that we drive as a company. And I think Arne was very, very proud that being a non-family member, and I think Bill Marriott said this morning that he is like a family member, but being a non-family member, being able to drive the culture the way he did, and truly follow in the footsteps of the Marriott, Mr. Marriott and Mr. Marriott Sr. was very, very impressive.
And I imagine for him, it's like losing a son. And I would imagine that he would have ever thought he would outlive Arne.
Yeah. I talked to David Marriott this morning and I said, I know we have a plan to move forward and cover for this, but I asked, I said, do you think your dad's going to have to come back and do more? And he said, possibly, but I don't, his dad's such a wonderful guy, has never left this business, but I know this is devastating for the Marriott family, especially.
It is. And I know that the board of directors is going to take a deep breath and reach a decision on what they're going to do going forward within a couple of weeks. So we don't need to talk about that right now, but it will inevitably happen.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll get Mike out of retirement.
No. Hey, I texted Liam Brown this morning, told him I'm at your service if you need me to do anything for you. Right.
Well, you know what? It says a lot about the company that people like you, people like my friend Manny, and so many other people when you're at these cocktail parties, and someone said, well, I've been working for Marriott for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. You don't see that across the brands. But and because of just the legacy of Marriott and just the way they go about their business, just very steady. And I think a lot of people, overlooked them for a while and really didn't think they would ever get into. I remember when I was at Nickelodeon and Mr. Marriott standing next to SpongeBob. And then we talked about on our last show with you that then he's standing next to, Ian Traeger. And so he goes from Ian Traeger, who has, is all about the sex scene hotel, to SpongeBob. And that says so much about Marriott and what you're doing. And Arnie would have never brought that deal to Mr. Marriott if he didn't know he had the army behind him to pull it off. Because that says a lot about the team, almost more than it says about anybody, that he went in there and he knew if he got a yes, he just turned around and said, okay, guys, go figure this out. And, and let's go do this. So it says a lot about the whole organization, not just Arnie or Mr. Marriott.
He had a lot of confidence in the people that worked for him. He really did.
Yeah. Well, Mike, any last words before we let you go? Thank you so much. I didn't mean when I texted you this morning, I didn't mean to ask you to come on, but it just seemed a natural thing. And you'd be the person to me that would be perfectly suited to be on. So thank you.
Well, I send out my condolences to his wife. She's such a gracious and humble lady, and her name's Ruth, and he has two nice daughters, Astra and Esther. And really, my heart goes out to his family. I'm sure that they must be devastated. I talked to some leaders in the company this morning; they were crying their eyes out, and because people are really close to each other in this company and a lot of longevity. So thanks, fellas. I really appreciate the time. And
thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming on and sharing your love for Mr. Sorenson. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
It's an honor. Thank you.
So Bill Marriott, JW Bill Marriott, one of the things he said this morning was Arnie was an exceptional leader, but more than that, he was an exceptional human being. Lots of other things in that statement that he made, but I think that really says it all. To remember the individual as a human being, much more so than the job title that they had.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I said, I've said it several times today. Never met the man, and just I've never remember going through a video and breaking it down to learn something. And because when I watch it, I'm like, there's something here that's more meaningful, and I just got to figure it out. And what I found was everyone was looking at him. There is no time for anything but let's make everybody comfortable. And that's what he did. He made everyone comfortable. And I know it was we all cried. I remember watching the video and talking to some friends, Manny and others. And I said, what do you think about the video? And we said, I cried. We all cried.
Right. Yeah. Great points. I was going to say something, but I lost that particular thought. I want to thank everybody for sharing all of your great thoughts. Please keep that up. We're going to go right now to Dr. Suzanne. Doctor, great to see you. Dr. Suzanne Bagnera of Boston University. What are you feeling this morning, Suzanne?
Well, my heart goes out to everyone within the Marriott friends and family. Certainly got news from my own partner this morning, so I know it's hitting everybody hard. And I think the opportunity to have Mike on here really adds to the legacy that Arnie brings to the table.
Yep, absolutely.
So thank you for being here, and thank you for showing everybody up with your background. I won't tell everybody the secret of that background, but it's absolutely beautiful. And, Suzanne and I are working together on a project, and as she knows, and as you know, Glenn, the most important thing to me is to get young people into this industry and to keep even people that are thinking to get out to stay in the industry. So Suzanne has been a general manager. She's a professor. She's just a big advocate of making sure that kids are what I think is lost in this industry is what they're learning in the classroom is not what they're experiencing in the hotel. And Suzanne's really been a great advocate of doing that. And that's why I partnered with her. So without further ado, Suzanne.
All those gold-plated pineapples.
Well, thank you. It's been a sheer pleasure and a great opportunity working with you, Anthony. Really taking on one of our projects being the case studies that are going to be forthcoming from your behind the scenes and your show, to really help to integrate that material into the classroom. I know in the pilot sessions I've been doing with my students, they've really enjoyed getting to see some other side of what the industry is and being able to ask meaningful questions and engage. And then I think the great piece that we've been able to harness is the fact that you've been able to join them live with a session where they can ask you some questions. So I think this partnership really bodes really well, and really starts to kick off that question about what can we do to bridge this gap between getting industry to be more meaningfully engaged with academia, so that we can try and make sure that our students are the most well prepared that they can be when they walk across that stage for graduation.
Yeah, it was, it's fascinating. I'm learning a lot. You've been a drill bit to keep me on point. So how has it been? Like we don't really know each other outside of, being Boston University a couple times. So we're not like best friends. We didn't grow up in the industry together, but you've been really kind of, you got my attention, and I just love the way you go about your business. What would you warn people about when working with me? Am I difficult to work with?
No. Well, Glenn has something else to say. No, actually, I think it's been a great experience for myself. I know even my first text message to you over the summer saying, I have this crazy idea about what you're doing in case studies, and can we have that conversation, and just really building upon that. I probably, as even when we spoke last night, I'm still not 100% comfortable just being like, I'm just going to rely on a text message. Is that still the way? But I know what it is, and I know what we need to do.
Well, last night the question was, would you prefer an email or a text message? And what did I say to you?
Suzanne, you know the answer to that. Why are you asking?
So why would you ask a question you know the answer to? But anyway, so we're working on something that hopefully will really give the resources to, you look at Cornell, you look at UNLV, you look at all the great hospitality schools, and they're if you're doing well in school, if you have resources, you can get into those programs. But then there are people that, like, I went in the military. Okay, I couldn't afford to go to college. I didn't really have the grades to get into great colleges, and the military saved my life. But there are a lot of kids that don't go in the military, but they can't get into maybe the most prestigious hospitality program, or afford $50,000 a year to go to school, or want to come out with debt. And so, like, how do we kind of close that gap?
And so this is a great conversation that I think all folks within the industry can really start to ask themselves. There are so many opportunities, and I know that our industry is suffering in so many different ways, and it's not necessarily at the forefront when you've had to do some layoffs with staff members or furloughs, but how can we bridge that opportunity to engage more meaningfully? So is it being in the classroom as a guest speaker, creating and partnering to do case studies, sharing opportunities for research? And I know that's a little bit harder of a stretch because academic research is not really read very favorably by industry. Right. And it takes a long time to do that. But is there internships that you can do? Is there mock interviews that you can do? And I think one of the unique challenges that I've seen, having been a general manager, and really at the time, not knowing how do I create an internship for students that are going to come work for me, is always trying to come up with something meaningful for them as well. And then how can you do this from a cultural standpoint? How can you ingrain this relationship? Because this is the pipeline of our industry, but how can you ingrain it from a top-down culture so that it's not just the individual manager at an individual property who is connecting to their alum or connecting to their alma mater, or just trying to find that one individual school? How can it be a more meaningful process?
Right. So, Anthony?
No, go ahead, Glenn.
So that's fascinating that there seems to be, a disconnect out there, and that you guys are going to try to, tamp that down, connect all the pieces together. Why do you feel that this is still an issue that we have to address in our industry after all of these years? But wait, maybe I have the answer, because we still haven't figured out how to put more outlets in a room. So if we can't figure out that, maybe this is a little bit of a challenge.
Well, I also think it's a relationship that tends to be a little bit more cyclical. So when the industry is doing really well, they tamper back. I also think that, I know back in the day, I worked for Bristol Hotels and Resorts. That's how I got into the hotel industry from the restaurant industry and being in college. And we had recruiters that were really very committed to wanting to see that relationship go. But if you don't have some of those key folks in those roles, it doesn't necessarily run as consistently as you would like to see it. And when you have to make decisions about short-term hiring versus long-term hiring, that focus on the recruiting end may change. But I also think the model for where we are at now, thank you to COVID, is going to completely change. I think you're going to have to look at how recruiting is going to be making some changes as well. The on-campus recruiting experience is not going to be what it was prior to 2020.
Right.
And I think one way of doing it is the way we're going about it, but also like when Mike just said about Arne Sorenson, I said, what was the one thing he loved more about this business than anything? He said travel. This is a man who was one of the most traveled persons on earth, and he still loved travel. So if you love this industry, there's so many different opportunities that we were talking about, Glenn and I last night, that in the opportunity that you and I are working on, I would love to have a program or a class about what he does, journalism and hospitality, because that's something I didn't even know existed until I met Glenn. And, I didn't realize you can be so bad at journalism and still have a job in the hospitality business.
Hey, what are you going to do? It's all personality.
But people they look at the front desk, they look at housekeeping, and that's the end of the story. But when there's so many great things, and again, in my experiences, you look at Cornell University, and I didn't see a Cornell student until I went to Tishman, and they were working for me as an analyst, making six figures, and getting brand new cell phones, or at the time BlackBerries, and getting all these perks. And they went to these very expensive colleges. They were in the right circles. And it took me 30 years to get in the same office they were in that took them a month after college. And I remember looking at them and saying, oh, we both got here, but it took me 30 years. And so like that to me there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place for that, because those people are really smart, those kids. And I've learned a lot from them, and I have so much respect for them, whether they come from UNLV, Boston, or Cornell. But there's got to be a way where they can work their way into the industry and still get to that office without having to do it in 30 years like I did.
Right. And I think it's also telling that story, right? So we certainly right now as an industry have seen so many positions go by the wayside, and you see it on the news. And so from a parent perspective of students looking for what degree they want to go after, this is where we've got to really try and continue to harvest our relationships together to show how amazing this industry is, and tell those stories, because what many people think of is servitude and, oh, it's not great and look at what just happened, but this will be a rebound. And I think for those students that are going to be poised and ready and armed with knowledge as we start to go back up that uptick, this is going to be really important for this continued collaboration.
And what I also think is important, Glenn, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to follow up on what Suzanne is saying and take it a level beyond that. I think now might be the greatest opportunity ever in our business to be starting out. It may not seem like it today, but people that are in school today are going to be opening up into what Anthony and I firmly are going to believe is going to be a decade run of amazing opportunities for hoteliers, for future professionals, and all. So I would say to any parents out there that don't think that this is a great career, they're probably not thinking about it in the right way. So many people have left our industry. Those positions will need to be filled at some point. And today's youth is going to be in better position than ever with great education from folks like you, Dr. Suzanne, and Anthony and other sources to really be able to have an exceptional.
I will tell you, my one of my dearest friends, and I call him a brother because he really is, Chef Harker, who runs Omni. He's the executive chef. We've had him on here, and he's literally, he saved me. He saved me in my career when I was at Nickelodeon, and I have a deep love for him that I'll never be able to explain. He's just a superstar. Works so hard. Never seen anybody work so hard in my entire life. Broke his whole body down because he works on his feet for the last 50 years. And he said, "Hey, do you mind if my daughter reaches out to you? She's in hospitality school." And I was like, "She better reach out to me." So she reaches out to me. I spoke to her last night on the phone for, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes. She had a lot of questions. And I asked at the end of the conversation, I said, "What do you want to do in this industry?" And she's in college now. And she said, I want to create, and I want to market, and I want to just come up with solutions to hospitality. And I was like so overwhelmed by that answer, because to know that you can do that in this industry, like that you can just create. And that's what we all do, whether it be what you do, Suzanne, what my friend Glenn does, or what I do, is like, we're just not running hotels. We're creating opportunities for people. And so when she said that, and then my like I said yesterday, my niece thinking about getting the hotel business. And one of my daughters is like starting to peek her eye over the wall. New York City, there was an article that said New York City's dead. Well, New York City is the number one city in the world right now for hotel pipeline. We have 120,000 rooms. We have 80,000 now because a lot of them are closed, but they're going to come back, and then we're going to have another 20 or 30 or 40,000 rooms. And our producer, David, sent me an email or a text message last night and said, "Do you think we can absorb all of this?" And I just wrote, "Yes." That was it. End of conversation. People will absorb these rooms. And because it's New York City, and this industry is not going anywhere. It can't go anywhere. It's not a need industry. What's happened in the restaurant business is devastating. And those restaurants will come back, but maybe not all of them. In the hotel business, this isn't a want business. This isn't I want to go out to dinner. This is I need to go out to. I need to stay in a hotel. And again, you travel. When Arne Sorenson traveled, he had to stay somewhere. When I travel, we have to stay somewhere. So we're not going anywhere. It's just the mix. I think the big hotels, the big convention hotels, of course, we're going to have changes. But if you're in this industry, please, if you have somebody you know, a friend, a family member, please give them this video of me saying, "Stay."
Right. I mean,
it will be the best decision of your life. Believe me.
A couple of show points. Anthony, right now, as you were mentioning, there's 150 projects right now in the fourth quarter in New York City of new hotel projects. 108 of them are actually under construction right now, which is truly terrific. And also, Anthony mentioned David Harker, the corporate executive chef with Omni Hotels. Go check out our show with him from September 23rd, 2020. You'll learn a whole lot about the opportunities Omni is experiencing even in this challenging environment.
You're a rock star.
Thanks, man.
Glenn. You have all that stuff in your little fingertips. I love it. So Suzanne, what's the thing that frustrates you the most? What is the thing, if you ran the world of hospitality schools and you ran all of the brands and it was like, wow, we all have to turn to Suzanne because she's running everything, what's the first thing you would change? You and your pineapple shower curtain.
Thanks a lot, Anthony.
I really didn't mean that.
I'd like to announce the burgeoning partnership has come to an end.
So go ahead. So what would you do?
Well, that's a really great question. And I think it would probably be to look at how can we try and make sure that there are more hands-on opportunities for individuals that are coming into the field and in turn give those hand-on opportunities to those entry-level positions in the industry working on better training. One of the other aspects that I have harnessed during my time over COVID is coming up with a new side hustle as we do these days. And I've created the Hospitality Leadership Academy and taken on my co-author for a textbook on human resource management cases that we wrote, and also took on an individual, Alec, from Marriott, working on the side to come up with training opportunities for businesses, not just in the hospitality industry, but those that need that support and customer service. Because when I go out to different places, I'm probably a really tough critic, because that experience, I want to crave and experience good customer service, and when you don't see it, it can be cringeworthy.
Yeah, my daughter, who's very humble, and she's working right now part-time in a coffee shop, and she is beyond the most caring, loving person you'll ever meet, and she forgives everything and everybody. And she goes, Dad, I was really upset about this takeout this weekend. She was up at the Catskills and in a cabin, and she's like, it took us 2 hours, and I didn't care about that. It's just the way, and I was fine. It's like they said an hour, and then we got there, and there was another half hour, and we were fine. But no one said, can we offer you a Coke? Can we offer you 10% discount? Can we offer you a chocolate bar? Nothing. And then when she called back because they realized there was a soup missing, she said, okay, that's fine. We're not going to come get the soup. But she's calling them at this point and said, but we'd just like you to take it off the bill. And she was like, well, our boss isn't here right now, and I'm really busy, so I'll call him when we're closed. And then after we're closed, hopefully he'll get back to me, and then we'll rebate it. Instead of saying, I'll handle it, you'll see a credit by tomorrow morning on your bill. Like after 2 hours of, again, if you get my daughter to the point where it's like, Dad, that was bad. Like me, I'd have been off the hook in 10 seconds. So it is so easy to teach people those things. Yes, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to do that. Don't tell the customer. Just say it'll be rebated in the morning. And for some reason, you can't rebate it. Just call them and say, we're having a technical issue. Would you mind stopping by, and we'll give you the soup when you can. We'll give you a credit. We'll give you a gift certificate, whatever. And it's such a lost art. It really is.
Definitely that hands-on component. Our friend Steve Hood is here, and Steve is from Smith Travel Research, and we've worked together on data and bridging the gap. And certainly Steve and Dwayne from SDR have been integral with my own dissertation and providing data and material. And Steve's going to be hosting a session within the ICRE conference that's going to be coming up in July. It will be virtual this year, but ICRE is the International Council of Hotel, Restaurant, and Institutional Educators. And so the hope is that he'll be with Chip Rogers moderating a panel and looking at additional ways that we can really collectively start to bridge some of these gaps. So we're thrilled that Steve has been able to serve within our association as the director of industry and really tried to help us bridge some of those gaps as well.
So you're talking about more hands-on opportunities and experiences for people. What does that really look like to you? In what context, and how can we actually make that happen?
Well, I think for many students, it's got to be that internship. Because one of the tough things that our students find is that you can't get a job unless you have experience, and it just becomes this vicious cycle. And so you've got to start somewhere. And so creating those opportunities for students to come on board with that internship, even if it's shadowing to get started. And then you can build upon that and learning some of those components to those entry-level positions. That's going to be key for getting them out of the cell phone, laptop driven, one-dimensional form of communication, because those soft skills become, so to speak, lost.
Right.
How many people don't want to answer the phone nowadays unless they know exactly who it is? That They don't want to do that.
Everyone.
Maybe somebody selling me on car maintenance issues, or telling me that there's been fake credit card fraud.
Or it's me saying, can I be your host on this great show? So,
right.
One of the things I find is the problem is when you have those internships and you have those shadowing and you shadow somebody, you have to find someone that wants to do it, to help shadow, help train that person. Because like when you go on a college tour, I use a college tour example. I've been on a lot of college tour with my kids, And there's kids that sold us the college because they were so enthusiastic. They answered all our questions, and I couldn't think of another college that I would want to, my kids would want to go to, or they sold the college. And then I've been on colleges I really thought that my daughter would love. And in 30 seconds, my daughter would turn to me. One of my daughters would turn to me and go, I don't want to be here. She didn't want to be here. And that happened to all three of them. They didn't want to be there because of the person that's showing them around. And they're shadowing this person, basically. And so I find that in the hotel business or any business is so many people are like, hey, stand over there and just watch me. Right. And, okay, you got that? No, I didn't get that. And if you're me, I'm like, yeah, I got it. Thank you. I'm not gonna ask you 100 questions when I was 21 years old. I'm afraid I'm gonna get fired.
I was exactly the same way. So, and that is a great point, Anthony, that you bring up right there, is that the people I think look at interns as a source for free or low cost labor, and they don't realize that you're really making a commitment to that student to give them real understanding of what your business and that job is all about. We definitely need more of that. And if anyone wants to do an internship over here for No Vacancy Live, drop me a line at glenn@rouse.media. Yes, we will pay you and we will care.
Well, we'll pay. He will pay you, and he will care. No, absolutely. I would love to do that. And David can help you take under the wing and under his wing. And listen, I'm working on a lot of projects. We're all doing a lot of stuff. So we love teaching. And I was saying this. I don't know. I was saying to you, Suzanne. I was saying to somebody recently that I want to make sure that the rest of my career, because I think I have maybe 5 or 10 years. And where then I would just really want to kind of probably do exactly what I'm doing, but make believe I'm retired. But anyway, it's what does it mean? Like you heard me last night on that conference call with the people we were working with. It's like you heard it came from my heart. Like this comes from my heart. It's like I just want people to be in this industry and love this industry as much as I do, and more, and travel more than I did, and get more opportunities than I did, and meet more people than I did. We were talking last night or even yesterday on the call about all the great things that me and Mike Ferrantino did in our career in the hotel business, from Home Alone 2 to all the people we met. It's just an insane career. So my only really goal left in this industry is to ensure that I leave a legacy to know if somebody said Anthony cared about this industry and he brought young people into this industry. If that's all I did, that's more than enough. One person. If I brought one person into this industry.
Anthony's referring to the show that we did yesterday. Check that out. You can find it at No Vacancy News on YouTube, Anthony's Facebook page, and the No Vacancy pages as well. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, and one of the things I don't think we did, Glenn, is explain the building behind you. We should probably do that real quick.
Oh, yeah. Marriott's corporate headquarters is right there. I am not standing in front of it today. We thought that would be the appropriate image for today's show.
I thought you were standing in front of CIA headquarters. I just want to make sure people knew.
That's tomorrow after they
find. And I think they're actually moving their headquarters, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so Suzanne.
Well, another way that we've tried to get involved is even on the high school level. So right before COVID kind of came into play, I worked with the American Hotel Lodging Education Institute, the National Restaurant Association's Education Institute, and wrote 6 chapters in a forthcoming textbook for the Hospitality, Tourism, and Management program. And that's a program that goes out towards high school students, trying to get them engaged. So, wow. Finding these opportunities that you can give back. This coming April, I have been in Massachusetts, the state event manager judge for Skills USA. This is another way. Many competitions will take place. ProStar, DECA, Skills USA on the state level. That's another meaningful way to be a judge and help these young upcoming folks. I mean, we make a big deal at the end, and these poor young kids are so nervous, but what are you doing to help them at the end? And what motivation and advice are you giving them? And that's another great rewarding way to get involved as well.
And I would ask everyone to look around them when they get back to business and the hotels start functioning again on a real level. Look at the person next to you and say, what can I do to teach them? What can I do to impart my knowledge? Because they may not ask, and you may not be good at explaining it to them. I always say, if you watch me work, you'll learn something. Follow me around the country, you'll learn something. But I'm not I like you saw when I did the session with your students. I'm good at that Q&A. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a professor. I'm not going to sit there and have a curriculum. I don't have the patience for it. But I've always tried to, when I saw a young person next to me, I always tried to say, okay, this is how we do it. This is the why. What are your questions? And I'm not really good at that, but I made sure that I tried to be good at it because I knew what it felt like when I came up in the industry. So I ask everyone to just take a look around you when you get back to business and really understand, that was you 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And what can you do in a real way? If they may not communicate, you may say they never communicate. They're young. They just text me and they don't care. Well, maybe they do. And maybe you just have to press that one little button that no one's ever pressed before. And boom, you got the next superstar.
Being a guest speaker, as you're talking about, is probably one of the most meaningful ways that I try and impart having folks into my classroom for my students. Certainly, I've relied in the past on them being in the flesh. Robin White of Langham in Boston, she used to have the longest lines after she'd be there. Right. Now, I've been able to embrace being more virtual and having people all over. And I know my students are going to be thrilled and able to see you again, Anthony, and adding you, Glenn, to the mix this year. I'm thrilled. This is great opportunities for them.
Why'd she have the longest lines?
I think that luxury experience, and I think she presents what her company does well, and that willingness to say, come talk to me, and let's see what opportunities exist. The other unique piece with Langham is that for many of our international students, they have a program with mainland China because their corporate office is in Hong Kong. So they can start something here in the US while they're here and have an opportunity to head back to their country. And again, a meaningful experience.
Yeah. Well, right. Suzanne, before we wrap up, where can we find you?
Well, I can be found at the Hospitality Leadership Academy at gmail.com. It's the fastest way to go ahead and reach me. Happy to engage in opportunities for class development, speakers, and training.
Yeah, I will tell you something. You really are, on this side of my part of my business, the brains behind everything. When we were on the call yesterday and the gentleman asked me a question, I said, whatever Suzanne says. I was like, I don't know, ask her. If you think I'm running this show, you're out of your mind. Everybody, whether it be Glenn, whether it be Jeremy, whether it be Kimberly, whether it be all the people around me, if my production it'd be Alex and Bruce. If anybody really thinks I run anything, I'm really a good magician.
That's a very clever job. And by mentioning that, you ruined my insult that I had all teed up for you after you stopped talking. But
what's my insult?
Saying that you get everybody else to do all the hard work for you, so you can just sit around and look.
If you own it, right? If you own it, then you're not an idiot. If you don't own it, then you're an idiot. So I'm owning it. That way, it's my way of you not making fun of me.
And speaking of owning things, where can we get such a great shower curtain?
Well, I'm going to be like the Wizard of Oz behind my shower curtain working with Anthony.
You know what? As soon as we're done, I'm going on Amazon. I'm going to buy that thing. I'm going to put it. That would be
my good friend Jennifer Fournier, who joined us today. We have a Pineapple Passion Posse, and there's a couple of my other friends. We share and text, and when you can't find something locally, this was, I think, an Ocean State job lot find. She gets it, and we share and trade stuff when we're at our summer conference.
Okay, you know what? You just gave me an idea. So by show of hands, how many people like pineapple juice? Nobody. Okay, so I'm going to have pineapple juice at my next hotel that I run, and with a big, and I'm going to have fresh pineapples all over the front desk.
There you go. And that's going to look like that's a great property.
Tell people the history of the pineapple. Do you know it off the top of your head of why it's the hospitality basically logo?
So it is the symbol of hospitality, and it showed that people were welcome to come into your home because they didn't have any other way of communicating that message. And you would put a fresh pineapple outside. And so my aunt, Auntie Di, she gave me my first pineapple. It's my door opener that holds my door open, and it has been with me since my very early childhood and having passion for working in this industry.
Beautiful.
Yeah, well, when Glenn comes over to my house, I give him a rotten pineapple.
At least I got something out of our relationship.
And my friend David said I'm not allowed to wear a shirt without a tie and just button it up like Glenn. he absolutely won't allow it anymore, Glenn.
That's a shame. First of all, I'm relieved because I don't like you muscling in on my look, which I think I took from some gang members. But that's okay.
Well, Suzanne, it's a pleasure to work with you, and thanks for coming on.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me today, and everyone take care and find ways to bridge those gaps.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Suzanne. We appreciate you. So what's on your shower curtain, Anthony Melchiori?
I don't have a shower curtain. I have a glass door.
Whoa, that's really nice. We have one glass door, and we have a shower curtain in the kids' bathroom with a periodic table of elements on it. So why not do your business and learn some chemistry at the same time?
Yes, sir. So good show. You know, it's sad. I've been sad about Arnie, and they say the good die young. He's one of the people that needed to stay around for a long time because he really was the leader in our industry, and it's just a shame. And you saw how hard it was on Mike, and you saw the beautiful message that Manny was really thoughtful, and she posted it. And she's been in the industry 30 years. And listen, we all know it's not easy to be a woman in this industry, especially 30 years ago, and to work her way up to basically be a brand leader. And she always talks with such passion and love for the Marriott brand. And like, I could never be a Marriott. I could never work in the Marriott system because it is a system and it is a culture, and it is the Marriott way, which is a great way. And I just have so much admiration for the people that really saw it for what it was and what it is and how wonderful it is. And that, as I talk to them, I'm like, maybe I could have gotten promoted. I could have traveled all over the world. I could have been a vice president, a brand leader. I could have stayed in that culture. I thought I just kind of saw it more stagnant as a general manager. And now talking to all these people, I realized there was so much more that I didn't know about. I didn't know that you could bring on the Gaylord. I didn't know that you can bring on Starwood. I didn't know that you can run these big convention hotels early in my career. And if I would have been exposed to that, I may have said, you know what, that would have been a great place for me to spend my career.
Right. And that's one of the things. Everything about the hospitality industry, whatever your passion is, whatever you love, there's a role in our incredible business for it. You're like Mr. Sorenson, who was an accountant, who became chief financial officer of Marriott before going on to become their president and CEO. Whether you're
I thought he was a lawyer. He was an accountant or a lawyer?
I think maybe both. I'm not sure. I know he was the chief financial officer prior to being the president and CEO. So a lawyer who then became CFO, who then became president. Thank you for the correction there, Dave. If you love architecture, you can design hotels. If you love design, you can design what's inside the hotels. If you love technology, you could create great technology for hotels. So no matter what you love, you can definitely be part of this incredible industry. Anthony, that's why I find it so incredible and fascinating. Love is covered in this business.
Listen, I will tell you right now, there are so many things going on, and there's so many different resources that I have to pull upon, whether it be friends, whether it be people I've worked with, whether it be my own brain, whether it be you. It just keeps me so passionate about, like Ross just came on and sent his condolences. I will be on a call with Ross in about 3 minutes, and I'm actually going somewhere, I'll just say, to help him buy a hotel. So there's so many things that this allows me to do, my personality, whether it be helping students, whether it be on this podcast. And I mean, I'm blessed. I am truly, truly blessed to be in this industry.
Yep. We all are truly blessed. And a lot of us feel blessed today to have had the opportunity to work with or for Mr. Arne Sorenson. So again, our heartfelt condolences go out to his family, his coworkers, and the incredible community that he was a part of in our hospitality industry. All right, everybody, we love you all, and we will be back tomorrow.
Be kind to yourself.